What is going on, everybody? What is going on, the catch fam? My name is John Dawson, and in today's video we are hopping into our week 1 starts and sets for the quarterback position. If you guys do enjoy the content today, be sure to hit that like button on the way and hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel, and feel free to drop any comments, questions, concerns pertaining to the 2022 fantasy football season down below. And without further ado, let's hop right into today's video. All right, Thursday Night Football NFL kickoff for the 2022 fantasy football season, and for the regular season for that matter. We got the Bills at the Rams, and this is really a no-brainer. You're starting Josh Allen, you are starting Matthew Stafford infection without a doubt. I think this is going to be a high-scoring affair, a really fun game, a great way to start the season as a whole. Obviously, if you drafted Josh Allen, you spent that draft capital on him, your quarterback won in fantasy last season. You're starting Allen without a doubt, and I think Stafford, even with the elbow injury, is going to be just fine. Your QB5 in fantasy last year, probably some regression there for Stafford, but at the end of the day, love this matchup for both quarterbacks. You are starting both Allen and Stafford heading into week 1. All right, 1 o'clock games, we got the Eagles and Lions. I'm saying you're starting Jalen Hurts undoubtedly, right? I think that the Lions defense has probably improved slightly throughout the offseason. I like a lot of the things that the Lions have done in the offseason, but at the end of the day, man, Jalen Hurts, say what you want about Hurts as an NFL quarterback, but he is a phenomenal fantasy quarterback. I think he's going to have himself a great week 1. And yeah, you're going to say Jared Goff. Listen, I think that Goff, much like the Lions defense, the Lions offense is probably going to improve. He might not have that bad of a day, but he's probably not on a starting roster outside of double quarterback leagues or super flex leagues. If you do own him in one of those formats or maybe a super deep league, it's not the worst start in the world, but we're going to try to set Jared Goff if you can, right? All right, Niners at Bears. Listen, if you drafted Trey Lance, you're probably riding or dying with Trey Lance unless you made a move to make him your quarterback too, and you want to sit back and see what happens. But overall, I like this matchup for Lance going up against the Bears. I really am worried about the Bears defensively. I think that the Niners are going to have themselves quite a day, and that's part of the reason why I've got Justin Fields as a sit. I mean, overall, I just don't like this game script for the Bears as a whole. I think Fields will be able to piece together a couple nice drives, make some connections with Darnold, Mooney, and Cole Kmet, but at the end of the day, man, he's going to be a set. Once again, you probably don't own Fields unless you're in a very deep league, super flex, or double quarterback league. So overall, we'll just leave Fields as a set for week 1. All right, Steelers at Bengals. We're starting my boy Joe Shiesty. Joe Burrow is in your starting lineup week in and week out if you drafted him. I think he is going to play with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, so to speak, after that Super Bowl loss. I think he's going to have a phenomenal season. I really think that Burrow could finish easily within the top 5 at the position. Listen, you drafted Burrow, you're starting him. There's no question about it. In terms of Steelers quarterbacks, they are going to be a sit for me. At the moment, it looks like Mitchell Trubisky is your starter, but just to be sure, I don't want anyone to get smart and maybe throw Kenny Pickett in a super flex lineup or something like that. At the moment, let's just sit back here in week 1 and see what happens, see how Trubisky plays before we do anything crazy with either Steelers quarterback moving into week 1. All right, Patriots at Dolphins. I'm saying sit both Mac Jones and my boy Tua time. I know there are some leagues out there, even 12-teamers, maybe some 10-teamers, where Tua Tagovailoa is your starting quarterback. And listen, I've been a huge fan of Tua. If you guys are new to the channel, I've always rooted for my guy Tua, but I just don't like this matchup too incredibly much. I do think that the Patriots are not nearly as good defensively on paper as they have been in the past couple of years. I do believe in that system, but overall, I just think if you own Tua, he's probably a backup on your team. In super flex leagues, double quarterback leagues, I think you can start Tua, but I don't know. I have a bad feeling about this game. Overall, I'm not crazy about Tua as a starter this week, and I really just want to sit back and see what happens with this Patriots offense before I put Mac Jones in any starting lineups. Once again, super flex double QB, you could consider mac and cheese, and listen, if you guys are new to the channel, I also love mac and cheese. Like, this pains me. I'm a big fan of Mac Jones and a big fan of Tua as well. But for whatever reason, I just have one of those feelings. This is a week we want to sit back and see how both of these offenses roll out in week 1. And I'll put both quarterbacks as a sit for the moment. All right, Browns at Panthers. I'm going to say sit Jacoby Brissett. I don't think anyone out there is really looking to start Brissett, but I really don't like this game script for Jacoby as a whole. I really don't like the game script for the Browns offense. I really feel like the Browns offense is a stay away here in week 1, maybe outside of Nick Chubb, maybe Njoku, but outside of that, I really don't even feel good about guys like Amari Cooper or Kareem Hunt. So overall, I'm going to sit Jacoby Brissett. I actually think the Panthers defense is going to play pretty well against this Browns offense. And listen, I'm going to say sit Baker Mayfield, but if you're in a super flex league, if you're in a double quarterback league and you need to start Baker, I'm fine with it. I think Baker's actually going to have a decent game overall, but I just don't think the ceiling's too great. And you know, for most leagues, Baker will be a sit, but listen, hey, I'm rooting for Baker going into this matchup, and I do think he's going to be able to make a couple of big plays throughout the day. All right, Colts at Texans. I'm going to say sit both Matt Ryan and my boy Davis Mills. Listen, I do think that Matt Ryan has the game script in his favor. I don't think that the Texans defense is going to have a very good day, but at the end of the day, I think that the Colts are going to obviously run the football first. I think that Matt Ryan is going to try, you know, improve a couple things within this new team, within this new offense as a whole. So I think that Matt Ryan could have a decent day if you have to start him once again in super flex, double quarterback league, something like that. But overall, I just think in a majority of fantasy leagues, he's a sit for the week. Let's kind of see how he molds into this offense as a veteran quarterback. For Davis Mills, it's just not a good game script. Listen, I think Mills had a really underrated rookie season, but overall, I think we just let him sit because this Colts defense is probably going to have themselves a pretty good day here in week 1 against the Texans offense. All right, Saints at Falcons. Believe it or not, if you're in a position where you have to start Jameis Winston, I am putting Winston as a start. Listen, most leagues you're not going to need to start Jameis Winston, but if you are in a super flex, a double quarterback, I love Winston this week. I think the Falcons are going to play awful defensively outside of AJ Terrell. I don't know if I can even name a starter on that Falcons defense, and I really just think the Saints are going to throw the ball all over the place. I think Alvin Kamara is going to have a great day. So listen, I'm not saying go out and start Jameis Winston over Joe Burrow, Russell Wilson, or Derek Carr, or whoever, right? But if you're in a position where you need to start Jameis Winston, then I'm perfectly okay with it. In terms of Marcus Mariota, let's sit back. Let's see how this Falcons offense rolls out here in week 1. I think it's a tough matchup against a really good Saints defense. I would sit Marcus Mariota. If you're desperate in the Superflex League, I would cross your fingers. If you're desperate in a double quarterback league, I would cross your fingers because I really think this Saints defense is going to have a fantastic week 1 overall. All right, Ravens at Jets. Listen, you're starting Lamar Jackson. I don't care what defense he's going up against. The Jets defense was not good whatsoever last season. Lamar is going to have himself a day coming back from injury. He's going to be a prime candidate for comeback player of the year. And let's face it, Lamar Jackson's the man. You're starting him. If you drafted him, you're starting him. Let's move on. You're sitting Joe Flacco in this revenge game, even in Superflex double quarterback leagues. I'm not a fan of Joe Flacco this week. I think the Ravens defense back and healthy, made some great draft selections. I think they're going to have a great day against Joe Flacco and company. It's a nice little, you know, story whatsoever. Flacco going up against the Ravens after some time. But hey, you're not starting Flacco. Let's move along. All right, Jags at Commanders. Yeah, you're sitting Trevor Lawrence. You're sitting Carson Wentz. But overall, I wanted to emphasize on this slide for today's video, except in Superflex and deeper leagues, I actually really like both of these guys. I don't think the ceiling's crazy high, but that Jaguars defense is bad. That Commanders defense is bad. So I actually quite like Trevor Lawrence and Carson Wentz. You know, similar to Jameis Winston, if you're in a position where you need to start either of these guys, I think it's okay. You know, Superflex, double quarterback. I'm not saying go out and start Lawrence or Wentz over a normal starting quarterback, but if you're in a position where you have to start them, that's fine. But in a majority of fantasy leagues, you're sitting both of these guys. But like I said, the matchup's good, and I do think we're going to see a couple touchdowns thrown from both of these quarterbacks, but the ceiling's just not great in my humble opinion. All right, Packers at Vikings. I think this is going to be a nice little divisional shootout. I really am looking forward to watching this game. I love when these two teams play for whatever reason. So I'm saying start Aaron Rodgers, who I think is going to be perfectly fine without Devontae Adams. I think he's going to be able to make a ton of plays. A-Rod's going to be fine, man. Back-to-back MVPs. He will be just fine. Is the ceiling capped a little bit without Adams? Potentially, but hey, literally, I am a 100% believer in A-Rod as a whole. In terms of captain, you like that Kirk Cousins. I mean, hey, this offense is expected to throw the ball more. I do think the Packers defense is the better defense out of the two, but I'm saying start Kirk Cousins, especially, you know, if you're in a 12-team league or whatever and you faded quarterback, you went 0 quarterback and Cousins is your starter, I would not be too concerned. I think Cousins is a perfectly fine start moving into week 1. All right, Giants at Titans. I'm saying you sit Danny Dimes. I'm saying you sit Ryan Tannehill. I'm just not a fan of this matchup. I think Tannehill has the better game script, is going up against the worst defense, and he's a little bit less, you know, turnover prone. He's got the better run game, so to speak. No disrespect to Saquon, but at the end of the day, I just don't like this game in terms of the quarterbacks. I don't want to start either of these guys. If you're in a double quarterback super flex, you could consider either of these guys. You know, the secondary is not good on either unit here defensively. The Titans front seven, I think, is going to be able to help cause some turnovers. Overall, I really just don't want to see either of these guys in a starting lineup going in to week 1 outside of Superflex or double quarterback leagues. All right, Raiders or Chargers, man, this could be a fun game here in week 1. You are starting Derek Carr. If you drafted him, you probably faded quarterback. If you're in a double quarterback Superflex league, I love Carr this week. I absolutely love him, man. I really do think Carr is going to have a good season, an improved season, maybe his best season of his career. If you drafted Carr as your second quarterback and you have a better quarterback in front of him, then don't get it, you know, don't do anything crazy. I do like this game quite a bit. I do think it's going to be a shootout, but you know, ideally Carr is either your QB1 and you faded QB, or he's your QB2 or a super flex player overall. In terms of Justin Herbert, you're starting Justin Herbert. Let's not get crazy, man. There's literally no way in hell you're not starting Justin Herbert. If you drafted him, he's going to have a great day, man. I absolutely think Justin Herbert could easily finish as QB1 this year. He's going to have a phenomenal year. This offense is going to be absolutely lights out. This is going to be such a fun game, man. You're starting Justin Herbert. Let's move right along. All right, Chiefs at Cardinals. You're starting my boy Patty Mahomes, no doubt in my mind. I get it. Tyreek Hill's gone, right? It's going to be easier to cover Travis Kelce, I guess, right? But at the end of the day, man, like, I think the Chiefs did enough in the offseason to give Mahomes enough weapons. And I believe in Andy Reid. I believe in Patrick Mahomes. I think Mahomes is still a candidate to be a top 5 fantasy quarterback. No doubt in my mind whatsoever. If you drafted Mahomes, you're starting him week in and week out, barring any injury and outside of his bye week. Kyler Murray, really the same circumstance. I think Kyler Murray, if you drafted him, you were probably starting him every single week of the season. This is another game where I think it's just going to be an absolute shootout. Two very explosive offenses. Both these quarterbacks are going to have very good days overall. These are two quarterbacks that, looking at their ADP throughout the offseason, they are your quarterback 1, and you're starting them here in week 1 as well. All right, Bucks at Cowboys. I'm starting Brady and Prescott. Third slide in a row where we have got just an absolute shootout in my mind. Go back to week 1. You know, first game of the season last year, the Cowboys and the Bucks had an absolute shootout. And I think, you know, we may not see that high of a score, but we're going to see a lot of touchdowns thrown around between both teams. And once again, similar to the last slide, if you drafted Brady or Prescott, they're your quarterback 1. There's absolutely no reason to not start Brady or Prescott. Heading into week 1 is to be another really fun, high-scoring game. Get both of these guys in your lineups. Don't doubt Tom Brady overall, man. You know, I don't care about the age, man. If you drafted Brady, he's your starter. And really, Prescott, I think, has been undervalued going into the fantasy season. I think both these guys are at really good values, or have been at really good values. Looking at their ADP throughout the offseason, I think they're both going to be perfectly fine rolling into week 1. All right, last game, Monday Night Football. You got the Broncos at the Seahawks. Man, you are starting Russell Wilson. I mean, if there's any game that you want Russell Wilson in your starting lineup this year, it is week 1, going up against his former team, who is just atrocious defensively. Russell Wilson might throw 4 or 5 touchdowns. He is going to absolutely ball out. There is no doubt in my mind. This literally might be his best performance of the whole year. Primetime game. Awful defense, or not, I mean, just a bad Seahawks team overall. Let's be real. Russell Wilson, if you own him, I mean, this might be the only player, like if you drafted 2 quarterbacks in a 1 QB league, that I might say go out and start Wilson no matter what. I think Wilson's going to have a great night overall, undoubtedly. And yeah, you're sitting Geno Smith. I don't even think in Superflex or double quarterback leagues you need to consider Geno Smith. That Broncos defense is going to eat my boy Geno up all day long. You might even see Drew Lock come in because that Broncos defense is just balling out. I mean, this is going to be, in my mind, I would just be really surprised if the Seahawks don't just get absolutely decimated. This might be a game that people start to turn off by the 3rd quarter. So start Russell Wilson and set the Seahawks quarterbacks moving into week 1. And there you have it. There are your week 1 starts and sets at the quarterback positions. If you guys did enjoy the content, be sure to hit that like button on the way out. Hit that subscribe button. Of course, if you're new to the channel, we put out free daily fantasy football content. We have a free fantasy Q&A almost every single night at the channel during the regular season. And feel free to drop any comments, questions, concerns pertaining to the 2022 fantasy football season down below, and check out all of our starts and sits for the weeks, as well as our must-start kickers and defenses for the week as well. And with that, I'll say thank you guys so much for watching and or listening, and remember, you guys saw it here on The Catch.